in the US, but also in recent times among the Black population without college degree. And particularly also among men. Yeah? This is also paired with a divergence of life expectancy. So for the first time in a very long history of increases in life expectancy has been declining in countries like the United States for selective groups. And yeah, this also brings suicide back on the agenda of sociological research and has been linked also with the crisis of post-Fordist capitalism. In the wake of the Greek debt crisis, then also Alex Kantikelenis here wrote a very interesting article or multiple articles on the negative effects of economic conditions on health outcomes. So again, suicide also back on the agenda. The ILO reported here in 2020, about also a comeback of something Durkheim would consider the fourth division of labor, or modern slavery, to put simply, with human trafficking, or also the rise of substandard working conditions globally, as reported by the ILO. So many of or much of these recent trends can be considered as anomic conditions, right, in Durkheim's writings, and they are still studied by sociology. Last but not least, David Graeber, in one of his latest books, first published as an essay here, made the interesting observation that a large part of the population thinks that they work in so-called bullshit jobs. Bullshit jobs here being defined as jobs that the job holders even think are not really necessary, redundant, and uninteresting anyhow. And Graeber found that a large part actually of the population considers their jobs as basically meaningless. You may also wonder, in the Durkheimian sense, to what extent this finding shows an instability in current societies. A second current of sociological research that draws inspiration from Durkheim, we can say, is the study of morality, or the new sociology of morality. So the Durkheim thought of sociology not only as the study of social facts. He often used the term also moral facts interchangeably. By this kind of sociology, we mean that we study variations just of ethical convictions and their causes and consequences. And so just as one example here, I drew up a little map here of different religious or countries by different religions that is taken from a world value study. This is a huge survey which surveys individuals from all of these different countries in the world with regard to how they think morally also about many different issues. And these different issues then have been grouped here along, let's say, different value dimensions that individuals seem to follow. So whether they are rather in favor of survival or self-expression here, for instance. And there's a certain tendency then for more developed countries to cluster also by religion here, and as a function of the different answers or values that individuals answer in these surveys. Take a look also at this interesting survey. You can download all of the waves which start in the 1980s already, and it is a great source to study basically how individuals in a given society think morally about many different issues. I've myself used this to uncover how people think, for instance, about economic competition, whether it's considered to be beneficial or harmful. Yeah, a final study I wanted to mention here, which is also, if you want, of Durkheimian inspiration, is one by Jonathan Myers here, 2019, where he asks, why do actually rising levels of inequality not result in a revolution today? And his main answer is not that it's difficult to organize a revolution, right? Or people don't have the means to do so. But he uncovers, also using these value surveys, that there's actually a rising belief in meritocracy. So the idea that if you work hard, then you should also earn what you work for. Combined with the idea that our countries reflect this meritocratic state to the perfect sense. And yeah, well, if you observe the top 1% and think that this is meritocratically justified, then you probably don't start a revolution today. And this is just one further application to show you how, yeah, you can make use of these value data, real value data, to follow up on Durkheim's basic idea to study the moral conditions in a society with tools that Durkheim himself could have only wished for. Okay, so towards the end, let us briefly recap what kind of theory then theory understanding Durkheim proposes. So Durkheim is in the tradition of let's say, strong believers in the natural sciences in the 19th century. So here he follows Auguste Comte and other positivists in thinking that there is something like objective knowledge that's to be gained through empirical methods in the social sciences as well. When it comes to explanations, we saw that Durkheim has these functional explanations in his works, and he is a structural functionalist in the 19th century already. But as a defender of natural sciences, he also holds a causal view, and most probably one on the regularity theory of causation, even though he's not very explicit about this. Methodologically, Durkheim, defends a methodological monism in that natural and social sciences follow a similar methodological sort of tool kit with the combination of this methodological anti-individualism. So Durkheim does not necessarily think that the individual psychology that you reveal in, for instance, experiments with individuals can inform you about society. You rather, as a sociologist, look at abstract social currents, at social organization, at institutions. So this is the kind of methodological approach. Durkheim's main motivating question is probably how is it possible for a functionally differentiated society to be integrated? So it's a variant of the question of order that Thomas Hobbes probably initiated as a kind of tradition. And it is a question that will also come back in functionalist theories in the 20th century. And Durkheim's answer, we saw that, is it's basically social organization of different kinds. So if there's a lack of integration, then there needs to be more social integration through organizations such as this revival of the medieval professional corporations. Durkheim has a normative theory, at least implicitly. He mentions deontic ethics, so a kind of ethics that is motivated by following principles instead of following utility. he's rather skeptical of that Spencerian idea. But he considers the social science enterprise basically as a value-free enterprise, even though you may have noticed this requires a certain explanation, because he considers sociology also as a moral science. But I think it is fair to say that, let's say, the process of discovery and explanation in Durkheim is meant to be value-free. This is not to say that the findings used in the social sciences can also be used by way of, for instance, social engineering in favor of a more integrated society. Ontologically, we saw that Durkheim is the author to quote on ontological holism. So this idea that society is more than some of its parts. It's not reducible to individual beliefs and intentions. And that society, as a consequence, is methodologically also about studying this particular ontology that is unique to the social sciences. In that ontology, we saw that individuals are rather playing a smaller role. So the individual for Durkheim is very small and faces the pressure of social institutions and structures and lives under permanent social constraint. This is roughly the anthropology in Durkheim. And yeah, I think with this, I leave it here. I wish you a great day.